Hawkeye fans out there and who just watched episode 4 and is here to talk full spoilers down below in the comment section. I'm sure you're right. Row right here. Let's talk Hawkeye episode 4, Partners, Am I Right? This, of course, picks up right after last week's episode where the swordsman had his sword, the Ronin sword, at Hawkeye's throat. There's going to be a lot of fun discussions on this. We didn't find out who the uncle is, but we got a lot more hints, and I'm feeling that next week is the week that we find out who the uncle is. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are on that, and as well, if you guys are loving Hawkeye, if you're just as crazy as me to stay up past midnight to watch these new episodes, well, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because it helps my channel out, helps you out, and you have a great place to come talk movies, TV, and especially Hawkeye at these crazy hours. Or maybe you're a normal person, you watch it during the day. So, of course, like I said, this episode picks up. Hawkeye has a meeting with pretty much Kate Bishop's parents. And in a sense, it's awkward. It's cringy, and it's kind of fun because as this kind of all ensues, the biggest conversational piece in this element, and the two biggest pieces that happen to be in here, is, of course, where he steals the sword back, the Ronin sword, and as well as where Kate Bishop's mother pretty much says, yeah, Black Widow. They mention Black Widow a lot, and that's why at the very end of this episode, I knew we were getting Florence Pugh. Like, I know they hinted at it last week with some of the teases and clips that they put out. But then I saw the face, and I'm like, well, that has to be Florence Pugh. It looks just like her comic book costume that she has. And, of course, as they kept mentioning Black Widow throughout this episode, and especially last week's episode, I'm like, we are getting Florence Pugh probably this week. And I actually thought we were going to also get the uncle reveal this week, but I'm definitely thinking that's next week, and we'll talk about that. But hearing Bishop's mother discuss, like, hey, I don't want to lose my daughter. I know Black Widow, she was great at her job, and I know Bishop's great too. But who says this is going to go anywhere in that same route? And I think that's the big conversational piece within Hawkeye himself and Jeremy Renner. And the performance that he absolutely gives through not just last week's episode with that great phone call that Kate Bishop was really much helping him kind of hear and understand what his son was saying. But throughout this entire episode, the pain, the PTSD, all of that regret that Hawkeye is really much feeling, he feels, and you see it in this episode in a couple different instances. Because after this entire thing, this episode was very much an in-between episode. This is episode 4. We only have 2 episodes left now, and there's a lot to still cover. And I'm getting a little bit sad because I don't know when we're going to see Hawkeye next. I actually do feel that this might be Jeremy Renner's last outing as him for a while, if forever. And it makes me sad because this is as much Hawkeye as we've ever really gotten. And I miss it. I love it. I already love having this much Hawkeye because Hawkeye's one of the coolest characters in the comic books. But, you know, he heads back to the apartment. He's patching himself up. Kate brings the pizza puppy, and, of course, some Christmas flair to it. The movies, the tree, the eggnog and the slushies, and, of course, their Christmas sweaters, which was a lot of fun. This whole entire sequence was a lot of fun and seeing that. But, again, it goes back down to the performances of when she starts to kind of piece together that, no, he was Ronin, and also why he was doing that with the whole blip. And we also kind of figure out in here that Kate Bishop really didn't lose anyone in the blip, none of her family, and neither was she, or I feel like that would have been a big conversational piece right there. But hearing her out and really just seeing her reaction to him, bravo to Jeremy Renner's performance in that moment, because again, he's living with so much regret. And when he takes out the hearing aid, and sits back and starts thinking about the time at Endgame and when he was Ronin, it gets very emotional and very structured all right there. And I overall found that to be just phenomenal in the way that they were really able to capture that moment inside this episode. And I love how they are handling the PTSD in Hawkeye, because really much out of all the Avengers, he is the low-to-the-level, street-level Marvel hero that we really much are the closest to and have had spent the most time with so far. And I'm loving how they're able to do that. Now, some other fun elements in here, of course, is him getting help from his wife, which is great, and having that fun conversational piece between them, and how they have some other insider, and how they're trying to figure out where this is going, and finding out where the suit is, and the sword, and who Jack really is. And, you know, we find out in there that he's working for someone, he's laundering money, which, of course, they mentioned the big guy, which we're saying again, it is Kingpin. Like, it is going to be Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Kevin Feige just did the awesome thing of announcing, hey, if we do have Daredevil in the MCU, it will be played by Charlie Cox. Does Charlie Cox show up in this show? I don't think so. Would be pretty cool. I think he's going to show up in She-Hulk for sure, and probably the Echo spinoff show that was announced. But I think it's just more coming to the point of we are going to get Vincent D'Onofrio back as Kingpin. I think he'll look different. I think he is going to be a little bit heftier and bigger, maybe a little bit CGI-ish. I don't know when we're going to see him. I really thought it was going to be the end of this week's episode, but of course we got the end of this week's episode and we did see who we saw. But I really do feel that by next week's episode, by the end of it, whether it's an end credit scene or something of that nature, it'll set up the finale, and I think the finale will be with Kingpin and everything going on with Echo and just kind of finishing out and concluding this entire series and kind of setting off, where's Kate Bishop going to go next? Is she going to join the Young Avengers? Is that going to be a thing? Is Hawkeye kind of a mentor to that? Or does Hawkeye retire the mantle and teach her pretty much, you are going to be the next one? Does her mom get screwed over? Does Jack? All sorts of things. There's all these questions that we're wondering, and that's where I want to hear your guys' thoughts also down below. So leave a comment. Let me know your guys' theories. Where do we see Kate Bishop after this? I want to hear it down below. But moving a little bit further into this, we see the LARPers come back. He sends Kate Bishop on a quest to get his trick arrows back from the NYPD storage facility, and that's what she goes and do. And I thought it was cool to see that the LARPers come back into this, and of course, the one who makes the suits, the second she mentioned that, I'm like, oh, she's going to be the one that makes them both their costumes for either the finale episode, next week's episode, whatever it may be. She's going to be the one that makes Hawkeye and Kate Bishop their costumes, which I think is going to be pretty cool because we've already seen posters of them in it, and I'm just looking forward to when we finally get those iconic purple suits. But, of course, going throughout this, of course, Hawkeye he meets up with Maya's little friend, who also knows the big man, and that was a fun, interesting sequence. Again, there's nothing big that happened in this episode until the finale of this episode, which is where it really packs a punch, because this episode just moved the story further along, having these smaller moments, but then you get to that last concluding thing, and it's like, I need episode 5 right now, because that was a big ending, because of course they sneak into this apartment. Kate Bishop goes in. She finds the Rolex, finds a note listing every single person in Hawkeye's family, which is scary. Then she sees the Maya photo, and it opens up from there, because then Maya and them get in a fight. But then Hawkeye's like, oh, I'm fighting Maya right now. And she goes, but I'm fighting Maya. So for a second, I actually thought Kate Bishop was fighting Maya, or not fighting Maya, but fighting Yelena with like one of those masks that changes your face. But then of course it flashes back to Hawkeye, and we see her with the Splinter Cell Sam Fisher outfit, and which is totally comic book accurate, and them all fighting, which led to a really fun action sequence. I don't think it's the best one of the series yet, because that last episode 3, bar none, probably is the best one that any of these MCU shows have done yet. But I love this sequence. I love seeing everyone fight. Maya, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Yelena, before we even knew it was Yelena. But there's one point where her mask kind of fell off. You see the blonde hair. I'm like, all right, it's gotta be her. And then by the very end of it, Maya runs off. Kate does her thing, which Kate freaking shot her straight through the arrow, which was insane. But it really comes down to, and I liked how Yelena was really much just going after Hawkeye. Not Kate Bishop. She let her live. She could have easily killed her. No, she was straight up going after Hawkeye. And there needs to be that conversational piece. And if you notice, Hawkeye had a reaction when she shot out the red thing. He noticed right away, that is a widow. And I thought that was just, the reaction to that was just perfect timing. And of course, once the mask comes off, we all cheered. Everyone flipped out. It's Florence Pugh, baby. I know for me, I was very excited about this, and it was really exciting to see Florence Pugh back in here. I can't wait to see what they do next episode with her, because she was such a big standout on Black Widow, and I actually thought that this would be such a fantastic companion piece to Black Widow. You watch Black Widow, then you watch Hawkeye, or maybe you watch Hawkeye and then you go back to Black Widow because it's a great prequel. I love that, because again, a lot of the conversational piece, a lot of these elements, and again, just seeing Yelena come into here now is going to be an interesting discussion. I really only think she'll be in next week's episode, and then something will happen. She'll find out this is the truth. I didn't kill your sister, yada, yada, yada. We're going to find out where this all goes, though, next week. And again, there's so many different thoughts. I can't wait to hear your guys's, because that's why I love doing this, is hearing your guys' conversational pieces. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. I can't wait to hear your guys' theories. When do you guys think we're going to see Kingpin? Or do you think I'm crazy and that I'm just putting too much eggs into my basket? I mean, if I'm wrong, if Kingpin is not in this show, I will buy one of the people in this comments section a movie ticket to No Way Home. I've already done it once for another video. I'll do it again for this video. So let me know if you want to make that bet. But of course, guys, thank you so much again for watching this. And of course, until next time, stay classy.